FIs have put big money in the Vodafone FPO. Let's listen into the conversation my colleague Ajay had with Vodafone CEO Akshaya Moondra.
We announced our anchor investors yesterday, and you said GQG is a name you mentioned. Along with that, we have leading investors like Fidelity Management Research, UBS, RWC out of the foreign investors. These are the large ones. In the Indian investors, we have got HDFC Mutual Fund, Quant Mutual Fund, Motilal Oswal Mutual Fund, and also there are some insurance companies from India. So it's a wide spread. Also, there are HNIs. So as you said, we are reaching out to all segments of the investors, and HNIs are also represented in the anchor book. A very important point of having a strong anchor book is also seen as what is the mix of the investors. And there I would say that we have less than 5% of the anchor book, which is allocated to hedge funds, which itself is a very positive sign. Now, in terms of the discussions with these investors, I believe everybody is convinced about the India story. Everybody is convinced about the India telecom story, because the industry today has a very right structure with 3 private players. Population is growing, penetration is below where it should be. ARPUs are somewhere lowest in the world. So telecom industry potential is there. As far as Vodafone Idea is concerned, they've seen 10 quarters of consistent performance with very limited investments. Strong brand loyalty, and some of the strength areas that we have are customer focus. So they have seen an efficient performance which has delivered improving KPIs and financial performance, gradual with lack of investment. And I think what we have been able to convince them is that once funding is in place and we are able to make the right investments, then the improvement would be more meaningful. And as I said, with the government support, which is important in our case, and which I believe has been reiterated both by the Honorable Minister and the Finance Secretary yesterday, I think they are very, very convinced.
Excellent. So let me take it forward with the last line which you just said, that with the proper investments. So this money which comes in, talk to us about how the proceeds of this, and will it be sufficient in achieving what kind of goals? Because I remember 3 years back there was a big rights issue as well, around the same size. Now talk to me about how this capital allocation will be made and what will be achieved out of that.
So one is we are looking at this 18,000 crores, which is the FPO amount. As you are aware, the promoters are also going to invest 2,075 crores by way of preferential. Just to be clear, this is not the only fundraise. We are going to raise further debt, which unfortunately we could not do after the rights issue because of the AGR judgment. But now we have had discussions with our lenders. We are going to tie up the debt post the equity being in place. So the overall funding which we are doing is going to focus only on growth capex. And generally our internal accruals are the ones which will be used for paying the bank debt. Bank debt is now at a very low figure of 4,500 crores. And the vendor dues have to be cleared, some of them. And of course, we have after the moratorium, the government dues have to be paid. But the funding is largely for growth capex.
Okay.
And your one question was, is it sufficient? The overall funding has been determined so that we are able to execute our strategy. And the adequate funding is available for that.
Excellent. Okay, one of the big issues for the company has been, losing out a lot of subscribers to competition. How are you going to arrest that? Technology, how are you moving? What are your plans to move to 4G and 5G as well over the next few quarters? Can you tell us about that?
So let me first start by saying that if I were to say there are multiple nuances in the telecom industry, and telecom is a complex operation. But if you were to ask me what is the reason why we continue to lose subscribers disproportionately, there's only one reason: lack of 4G coverage. And it is quite significant, and because we could not invest after the AGR judgment. Now, the point is that as we make these investments today, if you will see, our share of customer acquisitions is already higher than our customer market share, which is a thing which most people don't realize, which means we are able to attract customers without difficulty. Wherever we have a service and a coverage of 4G coverage, customers are coming to us. Our problem is where we don't have coverage. Either if a 2G subscriber wants to upgrade to 4G, the only choice with them is to move to competition, also subscribers like yourself who are very happy with our services in Bombay, but you travel to parts of the country where there's no 4G coverage, then you would also think about changing your service provider.
No, I've been a very happy subscriber for almost 2 decades now.
That's very good to know. Thank you for your support.
So, so now that you have your priorities very chalked out very well, let me talk about one part of the point which market is very excited about, and that is tariff hikes. 3 to 4 years back, there was the last tariff hike happened. Some of your peers are already talking about it. You see that come in the next 3 to 4 months. How will that be meaningful for companies such as yours? And if you could give any idea of what range would the tariff hikes be in?
So let me try to give you a qualitative answer which may not address your specifics, but it will give you a sense.
Sure.
I think one is that India today has the lowest ARPU amongst major economies in the world. Today India is about $2.1 of ARPU, whereas China, a comparable size of population and economy, of course economy is larger, is over $6.5. So we are less than 1/3 of China's ARPU. So by that benchmark, there is a lot of room for ARPU to go up. The second is that today none of the players in the industry are returning their cost of capital. This cannot be a situation, and this has not been just 1 or 2 years, it has been 6 or 7 years. And the situation has got more accentuated with the 5G investments getting added onto the already large 4G investments. So it is imperative that for the industry to be healthy, tariff correction is required. It is, I would say, almost inevitable. And I would expect it to happen sooner than later. There have been tariff increases twice in the last 4-5 years. I believe that the rate of tariff increase, the speed of tariff increase needs to be better in going forward, because large investments have been made in 5G and people need to get a return on their investments.
All right, there you have it. That's the Vodafone CEO to ET now talking about how they're convinced that the operating metrics will improve once funding is in place.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.